For me, traveling has been one of the most fulfilling parts of my life, but so much of the travel experience is impacted by what you do, who you're with. Just recently, I got back from my trip to Ireland with Atomic Trips, and it has been absolutely amazing. So today I just wanted to take my time to share my experience and what it was like to really be on the trip. First of all, the Atomic Trips team. I absolutely loved working with Sabrina, Matt, and Gabe. Those three were part of the amazing team that was with me in Ireland, and they just helped to make the trip so seamless. Something I really loved about working with them is that it's a very small team, but they are so intentional and caring about everything that they do. Both leading up to the trip and being on the trip, they were just so helpful. I feel like I just felt so confident having them be part of the process. It was organized, it was fun, it was lighthearted, also super knowledgeable about everything that we were doing. I think a standout moment for me was just staying in the castle. One thing I loved about this trip in general is that it wasn't just Dublin, it wasn't just this, like we got a little bit of a taste of everything, but especially with this castle stay, it was just such a unique way to see Ireland. I think the nature of how the castle is set up too, it just allows for a lot more like camaraderie and being close to one another. We played tons of games, we had so many group dinners. It also was snowing while we were here, so we were playing tons of snowball fights and making forts. Everyone just was having such a great time. It just allowed us this beautiful space to just relish in the beauty that was Ireland. Next, I want to touch on the ease of traveling with Atomic Trips. I loved that I did not have to plan anything. It was just so awesome and convenient to actually just put the planning into the hands of people who really know what they're doing. I know firsthand that the team has been to Ireland so many times. They are so well educated and knowledgeable about all these places and all these activities that I just didn't have any worries, and honestly just felt that they could plan this trip better than I could even plan it myself. Of course, we had the flexibility to add some things that we wanted or change a couple things, but they just made everything so easy. But I feel like especially in life where things are super busy and sometimes there's not a whole lot of time for planning, they just made the process so much smoother and I could just show up and enjoy. As for accommodation and transportation, I had an amazing experience. Like I already mentioned, the castle stay was absolutely incredible, and every other accommodation we stayed at too was amazing. Every hotel is at least 4 stars and above, so I already had the expectation that things are going to be lovely, which they were, but the bus was also wonderful. Overall, I feel like the trip was just super comfortable. I didn't feel like I even had to worry about things being a little bit off or uncomfortable. Everything was just beautiful. And now for the group atmosphere. I feel like a lot of hesitations can come for group trips if you've never done them before. The nature of traveling with people who you've never met naturally can make people feel a little bit uncomfortable. In my experience though, I have absolutely loved group trips. I feel like the atmosphere is super fun. It's very exciting because you get to meet people for the first time. Although I love spending time with the people in my life who I love and care for at home, it is really fun to just travel with like-minded people who are wanting to see a specific place in the same way that I have. I truly feel like with group trips, especially hosted ones, you're kind of drawn to a certain experience for a similar reason. You're excited to see this place, and I feel like that overall energy just elevates the experience. Now for the food and dining experiences. I'm a huge foodie. In my normal life, I feel like I'm not super adventurous with foods, but whenever I'm traveling, I feel like that's such a great way to feel connected to a country and a culture and people's ways of life. I feel like during this trip, we just got so many wonderful little tastes of flavors of Ireland. During this trip, every single meal was included, and I just loved that they picked places that were so intentional and like authentic Irish food. Just being able to try new foods and new flavors, it really immerses you into the experience of traveling in Ireland. From my experience, I just feel like Atomic Trips is so different than other group trip companies. I love that Atomic Trips is a small team. Like the same people who are planning the trip are the same people who are gonna be with you on the trip, so you actually get to form a relationship with them. Everything just feels so much more intentional, and that the travelers really matter as people. I know there's a ton of group trip companies out there, but I feel like in comparison, like those companies are so big and there's kind of like a disconnect, whereas having a small team who really cares, it's just so amazing to have like that hands-on energy. It just feels more like a family. If you're considering booking, I feel like this kind of trip is honestly perfect for anyone. It's such a great way to meet people. It's awesome, especially if you don't have a ton of time to do some planning. It's great if you're wanting a great mix of like culture and history and city. I think during my trip in particular, we had a whole array of different types of travelers, but I feel like everyone had a good time, and it was just so nice to have the community while also being able to see an amazing place. Overall, I'm just gonna say I had an amazing time. I loved Ireland. I loved the group dynamic and being able to meet so many new people. For me personally, I just feel so inspired by other people who also enjoy traveling and seeing the world and connecting with a culture in the same way. And doing this with Atomic Trips made that just so wonderful and easy. Would recommend.